In the final hour and 15 minutes of today's sessions, I would like to take this model, the very same model that we've been building, into a GIS realm. We're going to try something a little bit unusual. Commonly, when you start building a model that includes geographic information system components, you build it from the scratch to accommodate them. And that provides certain simplifications of things that what you have to plan for what you have to plan. We don't have that luxury. We, in the interest of time, rather than creating a separate GIS model, I thought we would convert this over. But experience in the past within our group, and particularly Wade's experience, today experimenting with this a lot, suggests that it's actually easier to bring this conversion over than it used to be for more recent versions of any logic. And I have to say, I don't have the very most recent. I have 8.9.0. The current version is 8.9.5. So it's conceivable, there'll be some challenges here. But I'd like to give it a serious try. And I'd refer you to the version that's up there on the site if you do need to grab it, and I'll seek to continue my posting. So placing a model, taking it from a situation where it's abstract space to a geographic information space context can provide a lot of advantages. And I won't go into those in detail in the interest of stewarding our limited time well that's afforded us. But it stands to reason that, in a geographic space that's recognizable, you can have certain resources like schools placed in actual locations. You can take into account actual routes by which people travel and travel modalities. You can ask for nearby resources and have that reflecting the reality of where things are. Think about disparities of clinics across a city or food deserts, for example, which lack a really good grocery store, supermarket with fresh fruits and vegetables. You might have data related to particulate matter in different areas of a city, or risk of exposure to contamination from in the US Superfund sites, or information on risk of interpersonal violence due to crime in different areas of a city. And with GIS information, you can bring a really potent amount of information to bear. Needless to say, if your focus is on the ecological realm, there's a set of other advantages that are profound. So we're going to try to bring this model into a GIS context. And that's going to take some attention. It was for that reason I had asked for mouse people to bring mice. But the truth is I didn't fully follow my own advice and don't have a mouse handy at the moment. But we'll make do without that, and we'll hopefully be able to navigate all this. Okay, so we have this model. The basic logic of it will stay the same, but it will be placed in this context. Modeling is about context, mechanism, outcome. We're going to translate this context to a real-world GIS context for some of the objects. Others will be placed more in abstract locations. Okay, so to do this, We're going to go to the palette, and we're going to go to an area called space markup right here. It's 2 down from agent palette and 1 down from the present palette. Sorry, Wade?
Sorry, remember to go to main first and remove, like, set it to user defined layout type.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Wade.
So
Yes.
this avoids an issue with converting it to GIS when you have a predefined layout type.
Okay. So in main, thank you. In main, that's just invaluable. In main, in the properties of the main agent type or agent class, you scroll down, you may remember we have this space and network area. We're going to change the layout type to be user defined. Now, if anyone, wants to get that version ready for action, I will just push that version up, and you don't have to find it yourself. You could just grab mine. Okay, step 1. Thank you, Wade. That's invaluable. Probably saved us a great deal of grief. Okay, so again, main, space and network area, layout type user defined, not distance-based network, or not random layout, rather. Random layout. No. User, it should be user defined layout. Okay. Now, this will change like what we're dealing with here, and we'll have to bear with that. If we were to run it now, we would see something not fully pleasant. We wouldn't see these things scattered all over. You might see them stacked atop one another like cordwood, which would be not so pleasant. But I'd like to now press onwards and upwards. Okay, so now I'd like to go to that area at the palette called a markup. Now, markup features prominently for GIS. It also features when you're routing people around indoor spaces or spaces with built environment, and there are certain paths that they should take, etc. Also, if you're involved, less likely with this crowd, but if you're involved with pedestrian library, or less likely yet, the material handling library, and are concerned about jib cranes or gantry cranes or what have you, or conveyor belts, you could use it for them. Okay, but our focus here is GIS map. Okay, and we're going to zoom out for a little bit just to give us the layout of the space here. And we're going to drag in a GIS map to this area. And I'm going to position it so that it doesn't overlap with, but rather is slightly to the right of these little populations. And then I'm gonna drag it here so that it's filling up the space. Having done so this is our GIS map. And I'm going to zoom back in just so I can see well what I'm doing. Okay. So now this next part is, it's going to be, we got to be, so the next part is kind of finicky. So I'm going to have to apologize, but we're going to have to be very careful in our user interface interactions here. Be very deliberative, like when we click on things or double clicks and what we look for. So I have to apologize if any of you are doing this while other things, you want to pay attention to this. So we have our GIS map, but to make it operational and in a useful way, we need to actually interact with it in some rather finessed way. So you might want to listen a little bit and then you can follow along, but you can judge. I'm going to double click first on the map. Double left click. By so doing, there's a little place I can search. And you'll notice that I could search for a point or a region. I'm going to search for a region, not just one point. And I'm going to search for our fair city, if I may. Saskatoon, the Paris of the prairies. And it's okay. This is going to challenge people. It's in Saskatchewan, okay? So maybe that's setting too high a bar here. If you search for Saskatoon elsewhere without the Saskatchewan, I'll probably find it, but you're going to have to choose. Wait, do you think it's pretty safe for them just to search for Saskatoon? And then I could choose.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you could just do Saskatoon. S-A-S-K, Sask, A-T-O-O-N. Okay, all one word. S-A-S-K, A-T-O-O-N. And you press the search. There. And you'll notice that it actually gives us a bunch of choices. And some of them are appropriate, but not what we want. For example, this one in the Netherlands, in Deutschland, or United Kingdom, while we're similar in spirit, that's not what we want. In fact, it looks like there's two, and there's one in the US that's also, while we appreciate the tip of the hand, it's South Carolina is not where we want to go right now. And so we want to go this top one, okay? And so I had to press enter after Saskatoon, press entered, and I'm going to here right click on the appropriate entry and then click convert to GIS point / region. Region. See that? Okay. Convert to GIS point / regions. This one here. And I'm going to click on that. Okay. And you'll notice it turned it a color fitting to our fair city, to the precious place it occupies in our heart, that's gold. Properly gold. Okay. So we've done that. And you'll notice it's sort of indicated where we are here, which is perhaps further north than US folks realized ever existed. I had a colleague who did grad school, a fellow faculty member did grad school in Texas. He was arranging to move back for his faculty position here. Actually, I think it was a postdoc position. And he arranged with a moving company in the States. And he called them and he said, I'm moving internationally. He said, where are you going? Said, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. The guy said, Saska what? And he said, Saskatoon. It's just Saskatchewan. It's just north of North Dakota. And the guy paused for a minute and said, sir, I'm looking at my map. there ain't nothing north of North Dakota. So guess what? There is. True story. That'd be a true story. It was Jim Greer. Okay. Now I will say that you have to be careful that the part you're searching for is showing. Like if you were searching for something at Kamchatka, you'd actually need to like drag over so you could see Kamchatka up here, or Japan, for example, here, or looks like parts of Alaska would also need. So you'd need to have, like, after you double clicked on this, you would have like dragged it across, panned it, so you could see those areas of the city, or those areas of the world. Here, Saskatoon was visible in its upper reaches. Okay. Now, this is rather important. We're going to, again, so having done that, having searched, having right-clicked on this and said, convert to GIS points region. So it knows that this is a GIS region. It knows the extent of Saskatoon, the census division, number 11, I should have emphasized, in Saskatchewan, Canada. That first one. We're going to double click on this again. Okay. And we're going to, oh, no. I'm going to double click. Sorry. Okay. Double click. Okay. Now I'm not even going by my own principles. Let's try this again. Okay. Double click. Aha. And now we're going to kind of move just like that. There's Kamchatka for that matter. And we're going to kind of center, there's Saskatoon in all its glory. And we're going to now zoom in on it, okay? And this is going to be, if you have a mouse, you can use the middle mouse wheel, and it's a happy camper. I think it's the middle. I think the mouse wheel. Otherwise, I think you can use, and I'm trying to remember, like, is it plus? Yes, plus. And you can see our fair city is beckoning. And plus yet. Okay. Oh, no, Edmonton is okay. So we want to center this. All right. There we go. So we want it to be kind of in the center, plus. I told you it was kind of finicky, and I apologize for this. Plus is what I'm doing. I have no mouse, and I'm kind of at a less advantaged position compared to most, but I think we're doing okay. Okay. I think that may be the most we could zoom it given the size. Okay. Now, having done that, I want to go to the search box. Now, you may need to double click on this again to get the search box, but it may still be there, which I think you could have used it. So there's a search box up here. Again, you may have to double click. You notice when you double click, it goes between this kind of search mode and this mode where you're just selecting the whole thing and you can drag around this whole thing, which is not when you, oh, what? Oh no, oh, come on. Don't give me that. I'm going to double click again and center this. I was trying to show it and I screwed it up. Okay. So again, double clicking will go between these modes. Now we want to search for point. Okay. And we're going to look for schools. school. Boom. I did this. And I guess I have to press enter. There we go. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's actually not what I was expecting, because I was expecting ones that are within. Okay. Wait, can you
Try school, comma, Saskatoon, comma, SK.
Saskatoon? Okay, comma SK.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna press enter now. Oh, there we go. Everyone needs a Wade. Wade needs a Wade too. We got to watch out for the Wade. Okay. School, comma, Saskatoon, comma, SK. Saskatoon is a city of breaking beauty, well serviced, and one of those areas is education, the educational center of the province, the biggest and most comprehensive university, only university in Canada to offer a full collection of health sciences. But here you could see it also has schools of various ages, of serving children of various ages. There we go. Okay. This is good. It also has the Sloan School, sorry, the Edward School of Business, which I don't know that we want. Okay. It also has the Little Stone School, which we don't want because it's a museum. Okay. So now we have to be careful here. How many of these? These are 50. Wade, what's the limit again? You remember for PLE?
Well, it's 50,000.
No, I think for GIS elements, there's some smaller number, I thought.
Oh, is there? I'll look it up.
Okay, thanks. Okay. So um so now we want to right click I think we want to right click here. No, that's not. I think we want to, maybe we need to right click. Okay. Okay. Give me just a sec. Sorry. Yeah. So we need to reach each of these. We're gonna only create to prevent problems. We're gonna select the first 11 of them. So I just selected 11, and I'm going to unselect by right click. Sorry, controlling the Little Stone School. If you want, you could create the Little Stone School. It's just I happen to know it's not an active school. These are from OpenStreetMap. Yeah. Okay. And now we're going to right click on these. And you'll notice it says like create agents at those locations. And it's asking what sort of agent to create. I'm going to choose school. Unless, Wade, you prefer, I mean, you're like, if this is my modus operandi, but if you feel there's a better way, let me know.
I I don't think so unless you've got like a data file to load.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Great. So I'm going to say, so I'm going to say create agents at those elements. Which agents to create? Schools. Each of these will be turned into a school. Each of these first 10 minus the Littlestone School. If you have problems deselecting Littlestone School, don't worry about it. That's a kind of minor blemish. Yeah, it's from OpenStreetMaps, which are updated and widely used, as I understand them. Okay, so we're going to create a school at each of those. Okay, now it's, oh, this is, okay, come on, get back into, so you see it, the ones I selected, it's actually creating a school. Remember the little yellow warehouse-like thing is a school. Okay, so you'll be relieved, likely, to hear that we're done with the finicky part. So you can click outside of this now and just depart and come back to the world of AnyLogic. Okay. Now, if I had presence of mind, you'll notice that it created these in a rather awkward point. And I think what I'll do is, I think I'll go select these like this. Excuse me, these. I created them to left. I'm going to select those. And then I'm going to move them up. This is purely a visual thing, but it's sort of getting them out of the way. These are particular resources now. They're particular schools that are associated with specific points in the map, per my comments a moment ago, associated with these kind of, these ones that are marked with a little yellow building. Okay. So we created, in this case, looks like I only created 9 of them, but we can live with that. Meant to create 10, but such as this. Okay. Now, these are agents. You may remember when we first started creating each of these populations, there was a choice between single agent and population of agents. Well, guess what? These are all single agents. They're single agents bound to certain GIS places. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Wade. This is awesome. Okay. Good. Okay. Okay. Great. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I've got to group these. These are all single agents. Oh gosh, I have the Edward School of Business in there, but okay, I'm gonna live with that. Okay, we're gonna select all these. And then what we're going to do is right click and say create collection. Okay. And it's created this little collection and put mine over there. I'm going to call these. These are going to be my schools. So I already have a thing of schools. Now these are going to replace them. These are going to be my actually GIS grounded schools. And I could have done this for workplaces if I, wanted to search. Yeah, these should appear in May. Thank you. If I want to search for particular types of workplaces, I could have had a collection of workplaces. And, if I wanted to search for parks or community centers, like the Albert Community Center, or I want to search for, museums or whatever, I could have created community places. But I chose to do so in the interest of time. Time is a ticking. I chose to do so only for schools. You can follow this thought through for the others. It would probably be, a little bit more finicky because you're probably unlikely to be able to search at a single SWAC for all workplaces or with a single term for all community places. So it'd be a little bit more painstaking, maybe a little bit more. But the same basic idea: you'd search, you get a set, you would click on each of them, and then you would right click and you would say, click on the ones you want, right click, and say create elements at selected elements. And it would ask you what type of element, say like workplace or whatever, and create workplaces in the same way. And now I'm showing how to group those into a collection. Jeff has been very kindly placing it in the Zoom chat. And now what I want to do is something daring, and it's going to cause a bit of distress temporarily. So I'm going to go to schools, the existing thing called schools, which are just abstract things, scattered around randomly, or that's what they were. And I'm going to delete them in an action at once as bold as it is important. So I've selected them, and you could do edit, delete, or you can press the delete button, I think. Okay, I've just deleted schools. Now all heck is going to break loose here. But the collection, I'm going to name it, collection, I'm going to call it schools. I'm going to call it schools. And now that's not going to quite sit with it perfectly because this ain't the same as the old collection of schools. It's actually a different sort of thing. Technically, it's a collection of schools. And that other thing was a population of schools. And so they're a little bit different, but we'll be able to fix it up. And I'm going to put this with primacy of place back where schools were. Kind of substitute it out. Okay, now we're getting close. Getting close to have schools at the right place, but it's going to complain about things. It's going to exhibit a bit of displeasure, and let's bear with it. So we're going to work through the problems. So up here in build, I want you to press build. Well, I'll be. Well, I'll be. It's happy. It's a happy camper. That surprises me. And I think in older versions of AnyLogic, it exhibited forms of silicon displeasure, which required some remediation, some pampering. But this did not. This apparently is comfortable with, amongst other things, going and getting a school to the get nearest agent from the set of all schools. Well, ladies and gentlemen, or I should say, dear participants, we are dealing with a better situation, and AnyLogic progresses. Progress that I wish were devoted to all U.S. institutions. Okay, so let's build. Let's make sure it's a happy camper, and now let's try running it. Maybe it will exhibit. So we distinguish between build time displeasure, where we build it and it says like, I don't understand your grammar. I have no idea what you're trying to say. It's syntax errors, errors and like it understanding what you mean. And then so-called runtime. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Much appreciated. Runtime errors, things when the models run where it'll say like, I can't go on. Something really bad happened. I don't know what to do. I'm out of here. And those are called runtime errors. And those have different types of the strategies for resolving them are a bit different. But they share a common feature of having a hypothesis in mind and studying that hypothesis and investigating it in a manner worthy of Sherlock Holmes. And Sherlock's methods for solving crimes apply here and to wonderful effect. So I'm going to try running this. And if it exhibits silicon streams, we'll deal with it. Okay, so right click on baseline, and we will venture forth boldly into the runtime. Okay, so here we have a good start. Those be our schools arrayed before us. And the model reports it's running. People are moving. We could go even drill down here, and we would see people, going to community places and homes, but their movements patterns are not evident, not in the fulsome way that previously charmed us. So we have a little bit of work to do to sort of adapt this to the GIS context yet. And once again, Wade knows the way, but I have a nose. I'm going to follow my nose. Okay. And where needed, I'll reach out to Wade and he'll provide us a steady hand of guidance in a manner worthy of the next generation. Okay. So the deal is we're seeing schools scattered around, but what we weren't seeing were homes, workplaces, community places. And Wade whispered of this, to be honest. Wade notes that our agents, somewhat maladaptively, are located as we run off of the Ivory Coast. And that's a location of some significance and great experience within my lived memory. The old horse knows the way here as well. I've seen that before. When Wade was but a strapping youth, we used to encounter that in our work with our smartphone-based data collection platform that's widely used these days. And we would find that when someone's GPS was not properly recording data, that they would often appear off the west coast of Africa. And indeed, I believe the Ivory Coast was, there we are. There's our other resources. And I fear that our people are trapped in that watery stretch of the South Atlantic. So how shall we remedy this? Well, I'm going to follow my nose. So here we go. What we're going to do here is we already have these set up, so we don't have to like reconfigure the number of them, but we do need to locate them. And we need to locate them in this new world, this new realm that is the GIS environment. I don't know if you remember, but before we did this, Wade gave us sage advice, as is his wont. He advised us that we needed to go to Maine, and before we began in this journey, we needed to disable the random layout that was enabled in Maine, noting that would cause us grief if we retained it. And we heeded his guidance in a manner that he is fully due. And what we have to do here is in the initial location, we have to set the location of these resources in this new world that is the GIS world. And specifically for each of these collections in turn, homes, workplaces, and community places, we are going to set them to be located at a certain latitude, longitude, is what my nose is telling you. And Wade will tell me if my nose holds true.
I would suggest you try in the node.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And if your UI was cooperating, you should see a box to select.
I should see sorry.
Like try selecting some other thing in the canvas and coming back to this population.
I see. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Coming back to here.
Homes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
See, now you have a choice of a nodes,
Okay. Yeah. So we could put them in
and
Saskatoon.
Saskatoon is there.
Okay, so it'll put them at a random location in Saskatoon.
Yes.
Okay, and we'll follow that through. So Jeff is providing, or UGA is providing us appropriate guidance, as is Wade. Well, yeah. So, and so what we did is we went to homes. We said in the node. I was going to do it programmatically, as befits my ancient nature. I was going to set the initial location for latitude, longitude, and then I was going to ask. I was going to, for the location parameter for them. I'm sorry, I was going to set a location parameter, and then I was going to have it be located at a certain random location within the space, and then I was going to use that for setting their so in other words, a location parameter each home explicitly. But Wade has showed us a better way, as he is wont to do. So he's had us locate it in the node, and I think this chooses a random point within Saskatoon, Wade.
Yes, it does. I think that's a new-ish feature. Like the way you intended to do it was used to be the only way to do it.
Right. Okay. So maybe we'll say in a node here, and as Wade says, I'll just as a matter of ritual, because any logic for Linux has issues, I will switch it over, but it's just as for apparently future versions, I should be free of it. But I'm going to change this for workplaces to be located at random places in Saskatoon, and the same thing for community places. And we'll go through that ritual here. And I think I'll, sorry, in the node here. Oh, no, sorry. Go, leave, get back. Hey, come on, Saskatoon. And I think I'll put people at a random location just so they're not stranded temporarily off of the coast of Africa, which might prevent them from getting easily to their homes. So, and I speak only partially in jest. I'm concerned like whether we'll let them travel from Africa. Okay, so I'm going to select population for their initial location. Later, they'll repair to their home. But I'm doing this. I'm going to select in the node, and then I'm going to switch away. And then I'm going to go back, and I'm going to, well, somehow it didn't properly refresh that. There we go. And I'm going to select, come on, Saskatoon. Okay. Okay, so all of these should now be set to appear in a node drawn well, in a node, and this is by extension randomly at some point inside the geographic boundary of Saskatoon. I'm checking for community places. I'm checking for population. I'm checking for workplaces, and I'm checking for homes. And for all of them, that's established. I'll post my model forthwith. I would note for schools, we already found them in within the map itself, and therefore we don't have to go through such machinations. So I'm going to save this as a new version, version 18, but I'm going to post to share with all of you version 17. And it's posted accordingly. Okay. Okay, now, probably before doing that, normally I would try running it. And I stand remiss for not having done that. So I'm going to build it first, and I may have done that. But now I want to try running it. Right-click on baseline, and we're going to try running it. And you'll notice it's taking longer to run here. It's actually doing some work. It's loading some things in and caching, so-called caching, like storing them for better performance for future runs. It's loading them in, I think, from the OpenStreetMap server and from a routing server, in fact. And here we go. And we see a matter of some pleasantry. No longer are our other agents stranded off the coast of Ivory Coast. They're instead of scattered around Saskatoon at random points inside. And we see people, and those people are, well, albeit they're moving, but not only are they moving, they are moving around roads such as Circle Drive for those who have the pleasure of its acquaintance. Highway 5 out here. They're crossing the Southern Circle Drive Bridge to the south, including a infected person worrisomely. And they're going right now to community places, some of them. It looks like they're repaired to Stonebridge here, and now some are going back. Oh, some are going through the school. Okay. Some are going home. So the point is, they're actually traveling along some routes, but it's actually working rather mightily to try to route them along the various streets, and I think trying to be intelligent about storing up what information. And here we go. Okay, looks like they're at home now. You notice their heads peeping out above the rooftops. There we are. This is a home which has an infected person, as does this one. It's an afflicted home. And it's not alone in that affliction. This one also has it. And I fear that this will lead to a spread of infection at home, which kids will distribute to their schools and which to their nearest schools. Remember, schools now are found, the nearest school is still found. They're going to their nearest school. The kids who live in a certain home are going to their nearest school. And others are repairing, the adults are repairing to their workplaces, some in the downtown area, others in the industrial area. This one looks like it works at the airport. And and so we have this movement pattern. Now, you might be excused for asking, is this, oh, wait a minute. I'm scrolling on the map. That's not what I want to do. What I want to do is I want to escape from this by clicking outside, and then I want to scroll up. And here you can see that the infection is spreading to some distress within our fair city. And you can see growing numbers of individuals circulating who either are infected or have been infected. Okay. And so we have, to some good effect, placed our model, translated our model with Wade's stalwart guidance. We've translated it to a GIS context and placed resources. Now, you could be forgiven for asking, like, why is this set of houses looking almost on top of the river here? Right? And why are, I'm gonna click on this, but and why are there the big box stores not located where we might expect them? This, like in Preston Crossing and so on. Well, here it's important to recognize that we only situated schools among these resources in actual locations. So we searched for those. You remember that, and we selected them and we said create as schools. We could have done the same thing. I want to emphasize for the community places, these boxes things. And we could have searched for stores, or could have searched for restaurants, we could have searched for yoga studios, gyms, and other recreational facilities, parks, or what have you. Probably parks less, would have wanted to include less for the sake of considering infection transmission. So we could have followed that through for workplaces and indeed for community places. But for the interest of time, we didn't do so. But what we have is something that offers the likeness of, with homes having to figure out exactly where the neighborhoods are, where they're not, like not in the industrial areas or what have you. We have something that has a lot of features of it, and has the road connectivity network and school locations that are appropriate, and kids go to the nearby schools. So it has a certain face plausibility. And we could add more detail with a modest amount of work. So, if I may, I'm pleased to offer you this GIS adaptation of the model you built by your own hands, in which you've now adapted to GIS, to use GIS tools. Congratulations. And were there interest at any point, Wade could share his experience with various GIS information, the strengths and shortcomings of it. There's, for example, last we checked, it only processes very simple shape files. And there are abilities to ask how far distant are things. And there is the ability, if we were to go to the build time, sort of description here, we could see that by expanding this further, we can set sort of features of sort of level of precision, I guess. But there's a particular component, like there are shape files here. We have some search, I guess, bounds that we could impose. We have a certain routing server. And you'll notice the route type that it considers right now is across the board car-based routing. It is possible to set this to other types of routing, bike, foot, rail. But more than that, if you have multiple types of agents, some of whom travel with different modalities, there is a way other than that. It's not just a hegemony of one. You can go and set for different agents, different classes of agents, what their appropriate modality should be. And so they'll be routed according bike paths for someone like me. And there may be some way to capture that walking as well. And potentially, I don't think this has bus routes, but doing something like that would be more complicated, but not impossible. And to adapt it to something like that, it'll be considerably more. Okay, so we've just seen the essentials of GIS as AnyLogic presents it. And this does open up, as I say, ways to ask, like, how far is it between these? And I think how much time with a certain modality. I think you can ask for nearby resources, near something. Is that right, Wade? Can you ask? I mean, you could certainly ask other nearby agents nearby. I'm not sure if you can ask. You can ask, like, are there, like, how far is the boundary of the space from me or something like that? I'm not sure.
There are a few geometric things, but you probably have to have like there's distance from point to a line and
Okay.
distance,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's fairly limited.
Yeah. Okay. I hope this gives you a glimpse of putting things in a geographic context. I will post along these lines a set of slides, which for those interested in GIS may be quite basic for you, but it's about the interaction between ABMs and dynamic models, perhaps more generally, but I think it's really focused on ABMs and geographic information system data. And just reflecting on what are some of the advantages? Why might you do this? What affordances could it offer? What might you do in principle, like determine exposures or distance of resources from agents, from a clinic, or from a police station, or from a grocery store, or what have you. Routing agents along paths, we talked about that. Create information and background risk of exposure. Capture features or components of proximity to certain resources or blocked areas. Or areas that you can't cross. Might be possible, I'm not sure. You might be able to, for example, might want to use data from the world about empirically observed mobility patterns of going from A to B, and you might want to reflect that in your model. Maybe you have smartphone-based data like we do, and people travel, or give agents characteristics and potentially behavioral patterns calibrated to such. And in conjunction with a neighboring lab at Kevin Stanley, we've done quite a lot with kind of examining how certain behavioral mobility models might be used to capture some recognizable patterns in movement. And there's, for those familiar with it, there's a literature on things like Levy walks or random walks, et cetera, which basically provides some kind of behavioral abstraction for how people move, waypoint models that they move between certain locations in the day, much like we've done, within this very model of sort of movement of locations. You might, if you had a more sophisticated model, sort of try to calibrate it to match, observed data at some level. Maybe in your model, you want to have agents augment, certain information at certain locations, like these deer with chronic wasting disease, these infected individuals spread resources, maybe. And in fact, here the workplaces become sites of infection transmission. You could have built up of prions in a model of chronic wasting disease, or buildup of environmental contaminants at a workplace that then degrade. And indeed, there's a example model involving exactly that, environmental contamination, GIS, which is in your example models. I think it's in the hybrid models because it uses system dynamics to characterize the dynamics of infection. And so you could have counterfactuals examined with this in terms of how it builds up infection. It could, here, you could produce data that you compare with empirical data for face plausibility or what have you. You could ask what if questions. How might this affect spread of infection if we were to have greater availability of clinics on the west side or something along those lines? Some common features in GIS models that you may be seeing right now. GIS shapefiles, we'd have to do an assessment of how much the support for those has expanded. We'd found, gosh, a bunch of years back now, pre-pandemic, extraordinarily limited. Maybe there's some better support. I'm not sure now. And GIS features come with network use. You see that, computation time, things run slower, large amounts of memory. We have found dramatic improvements. One of our members in our group, Eric Redekop, is particularly has a depth of experience in this, of using databases, which he's made vastly faster by downloading information, having it so-called locally where it's being run, so it doesn't have to go over the network. And it can sort of it can have already computed routing paths going from one place to the other and use them rather than rerouting. Right. Okay. Yeah, this is, well, we've already had this for this boot camp. This is short past boot camp, but I'm glad to do coverage of some things if they were interesting. Okay, so those are all we have planned